Given that a vast majority of adults spend a significant portion of their waking hours engaged in work, understanding the psychological dynamics of the workplace is incredibly relevant and important. And this is the domain of IO psychology, better known as industrial organizational psychology. And this field applies psychological principles to address fundamental questions about work life, what characteristics define things like effective leadership, how can organizations select the best candidates for a job, and what factors drive employee motivation and job satisfaction? We'll also explore social interactions and group dynamics and how they're absolutely central to answering these crucial questions. So let's define IO psychology more formally and clarify its strong connection to the broader field of social psychology. And so it's formally defined as a branch of psychology that applies psychological theories, research methods, and findings specifically to workplace settings and issues. The American Psychological Association further specifies it is a scientific study of human behavior within the context of industries and organizations, so the link to social psychology is immediate and profound. Workplaces are fundamentally social arenas. Nearly everything involves interaction with colleagues or supervisors or subordinates, being influenced by group norms or organizational cultures or navigating power dynamics. So, because social psychology studies how the presence and opinions of others influence individual behavior, and this influence is ever present at work, IO psychology is often regarded as a specialized applied field directly stemming from social psychology. And it takes findings from social and cognitive research and uses them to tackle practical organizational challenges. Professionals in this field often operate as scholar practitioners, meaning they ground their practical work in scientific theory and research while also allowing their real world experiences to generate new insights and refine theories. So, what specific kinds of issues and questions fall under the purview of IO psychologists? The scope is remarkably broad, covering a wide range or spectrum of behaviors and processes within organizations. IO psychologists tackle diverse areas, and these include personnel psychology aspects like developing fair and valid methods for selecting and placing employees, designing effective training programs, and creating systems for performance appraisal and development. They also cover organizational psychology topics such as understanding and improving employee motivation, studying leadership styles and effectiveness, analyzing group dynamics and teamwork, managing organizational change and development, and enhancing the overall quality of work life, including work life balance and employee well being. Some IO psychologists even study consumer behavior. The overarching goal across these specialty areas is twofold: to help organizations function more effectively and achieve their goals, while simultaneously improving the experiences, satisfaction, and health of the people working within them. To make this more concrete, take a look at a couple recent examples illustrating how IO psychology is applied to contemporary workplace challenges. So here's relevant examples addressing some very current organizational challenges. First, take a look at this 2021 video, The Future of Post-Pandemic Work by the Care 11 News Network. And so as you're witnessing the video, The Future of Post-Pandemic Work, the landscape of work has fundamentally shifted. We're grappling with hybrid models, increased demands for flexibility, new technologies for collaboration, and ongoing questions about how to maintain strong team connections and culture when we might not be physically together all the time. And so the video highlights both the opportunities like greater autonomy and potentially better work life balance, and the significant challenges. How do teams coordinate effectively when some members are remote and others are in the office? How do we build trust and psychological safety across distances? Or how do we ensure work remains engaging and aligned with both organizational goals and employee well being in this new era? Simply put, the old ways of structuring teamwork might not be sufficient anymore. Relying solely on top down directives or assuming teams will just figure it out can lead to confusion, disconnection, and burnout issues, likely touched upon in the discussion from the post pandemic work feature. And so this brings us to the powerful concept for navigating these very challenges, team crafting. In response to the significant disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, issues like difficulties in retaining staff and concerns about employee health were covered by IO psychologists. So, for instance, a team of Ruda and Sanchez proposed this concept of team crafting. And this builds on the established idea of job crafting, where individual employees proactively modify aspects of their own jobs to better align with their skills and interests. Team crafting extends this to the group level. The entire team collaborates to discuss and redesign elements of their collective work, maybe how they divide tasks, structure their communication, or approach projects, aiming for improved efficiency and increased commitment to the team and organization. The intended benefits include building greater resilience within the team to handle stress and change, reducing employee strain, and finding ways to optimize the team's resources and capabilities without requiring large new investments from the company. And so IO psychologists play a key role not only in developing such models, but in implementing and rigorously evaluating their effectiveness within organizations. And beyond optimizing processes, IO psychology also plays a critical role in identifying and addressing issues of fairness and bias within organizations. So, another vital application of IO psychology involves investigating and addressing systemic biases that can affect fairness and equity in the workplace. A compelling example comes from a study by Smith and colleagues. In 2019, they looked at performance evaluations of leaders at the U.S. Naval Academy. And their analysis revealed that women leaders tended to receive harsher evaluations compared to their male peers. Specifically, women received significantly more proscriptive feedback, comments focusing on negative attributes or behaviors that they should avoid more so than men did. Furthermore, the positive individual attributes noted for women leaders often align with traditional feminine stereotypes rather than leadership specific competencies. And so the researchers interpreted these findings as suggesting a potential bias stemming from a perceived inconsistency between the social category of women and the high status role of leader, possibly leading to evaluators to rely on stereotypes or perceive lower levels of competence. And so identifying such disparities through rigorous research and then developing interventions or system changes, such as rater training, revised evaluation forms, and so on, to reduce bias obviously is a core responsibility for IO psychologists working in areas like performance management. And this demonstrates how IO psychology provides concrete tools for applying psychological principles to promote fairness. And so, in summary for this section, IO psychology serves as a critical discipline applying the science of psychology specifically to the complexities of the workplace. Its foundations are deeply intertwined with social psychology, given that work is fundamentally a social endeavor. We've seen its broad scope covering everything from hiring and development to leadership, motivation, and organizational culture. The key characteristic is its dual focus on improving both the bottom line for the organization and the well-being and satisfaction of its employees. Importantly, IO psychology offers practical, evidence-based solutions to tangible workplace issues, as illustrated by concepts like team crafting, to boost resilience and research aimed at identifying and mitigating biases in processes like performance evaluation. And throughout our Chapter 14 discussion, we've seen how applied social psychology takes the rich insights generated from basic research in our field and puts them to work in the real world. We explored three vibrant areas where this application was prominent: positive psychology that offers a scientific framework for understanding and cultivating human strengths, happiness, and resilience. Our look at mental health underscores how social factors, our perceptions, biases, cultural backgrounds, and the very nature of therapeutic relationships are crucial considerations for effective treatment. And IO psychology demonstrates how applying social principles can lead to more effective, efficient, and fulfilling workplaces. So the unifying message is that social psychology equips us not only with explanations, but also with empirically grounded tools to actively improve individuals' lives, enhance helping professions, and create better functioning organizations and communities. It powerfully reinforces the idea that humans are deeply social beings, and we can only be fully understood and supported when considered within the rich context of our relationships, culture, and society. And I'd like to leave you all with some questions to ponder and perhaps discuss in the comments below. One, think about how we can apply these principles practically. For instance, how can schools leverage positive psychology? Two, what are the ethical tightropes clinicians walk regarding bias and culture? Three, how can we make specific workplaces better using IO psychology principles? Four, how can we systemically build resilience in our communities? And five, where do we draw the line on those potentially helpful positive illusions? I look forward to hearing your thoughts, and thank you so much for tuning in.